So I'm there on the stairs with my severe knee injury, and um, lots of people saw it happen. So I had lots of people rush over to help me, and so a few guys got all my luggage and took it up to the top for me. So after a while, I managed to sort of get up and sort of hobble up the stairs, um, sort of on one leg. I could barely put any weight on the other leg. It sort of felt like, below the knee was sort of hanging on by a thread because I sort of could not really bend my leg or flex it or put any weight on it. Um, so I was sort of pretty much had one leg and couldn't really put much weight on the other. So I get up the top of um, of exit 7, and I managed to wave over a taxi. And luckily, he did not refuse me, so I managed to get into the taxi, and he put all my stuff into the taxi. And I gave him the address and the phone number of the place I was going to, and he took me there. He drops me off at the place, and I realized that my concern about a taxi costing too much was completely um, it had no basis. I had no basis for that fear, but of course I didn't know that at the time, because in most other countries, taxis are very expensive, and if you're taking a 50-minute cab trip, that's going to be quite expensive. But so after I'd paid this taxi for taking me to this guest house, I realized that taking a taxi the whole way from the north to the south probably wouldn't have cost me much more than 30 or 40 bucks, and that definitely would have been worthwhile, because that would have meant that I wouldn't have injured myself. But anyway, you find these things out the hard way. Um, so I'm at my new accommodation, and I have a very bad knee injury. So um, it hurts quite a bit, and basically I was just stressed. So I just rested on my bed for for that night. And the next morning, it was a Sunday, and I tried to get some medical advice. There are a few sort of hotlines for foreigners, sort of in trouble. So I called them to see if to see if there was anything, any sort of medical service that I could get to have someone look at my knee. And because it was a Sunday, there wasn't really anything um, available to me, because I wasn't really um, it wasn't really an emergency situation. So um, anyway, that was the Sunday. So I'm just sort of shell shocked sitting at this guest house in Jongno Samga, and um, yeah, with a broken leg. So there wasn't really anything I could do on the Sunday, either about my knee or about Chung Dahm. So Monday comes around, and immediately I have all these things that I need to take care of. So first, I need to get my knee looked at, and I need to figure out what is going on with Chung Dahm, because on that Friday, when I'd spoken with them, I did actually ask them if they could give me a release letter. If you're not familiar with the Korean visa system, basically the employer that sponsors you is also responsible for your visa. So basically, your employer is in charge of your visa and has the authority to cancel it. So that means that if you want to change jobs, you're actually not allowed to by law. You're not allowed to work for anybody else other than the person who has sponsored your visa. So that means you're pretty much slave to whoever has sponsored your visa. Um, it is only possible to work for somebody else if you manage to obtain a release letter from your employer. So, I knew all of this before I came to Korea, and so I tried to convince the recruiters to talk to my employer in Daejeon and explain the situation. I did tell them, that I felt that they'd been quite dishonest to me, and this wouldn't have happened if they'd been a bit more honest. And so I requested that they give me a release letter, because if I had a release letter, um, that would have meant that I could have found a job elsewhere, and it wouldn't really have been a big deal with a visa, because I wouldn't need to get a new visa. There would be no visa process to go through, etc. It's just if I had that release letter, I could start working for another employer, and it would be, a lot more simple. So I was very adamant about that they provide me with a release letter on the Friday, and so on the Monday, I ring them up again, just to make sure that they've just to make sure that they're going to give me a release letter. So I call them up and I say, no hard feelings about, the training and anything. Can you tell me about my release letter? Please do not cancel my visa. I would like a release letter. Please tell me, where you're going to send the release letter to. It's important that I get this release letter. So, I tell my recruiter, Jennifer, all of this on the Monday over the phone. And she says, yeah, okay, I'll look into that. So that was Monday. Then on the Monday, I go and get my leg checked out, and I have X-rays and ultrasounds at the International Clinic in Itaewon. And at that point, the doctor just thought that it was badly sprained. Um, so I was given some crutches and a knee brace, and yeah, that was the immediate care that I got for my leg. So after I had my leg taken care of on the Monday, I began to question the legal implications of what Chung Dahm had done to me. I didn't really think that it could possibly be legal, what they had done to me under Korean law, because basically Chung Dahm was my employer. They had sponsored my visa, and for them to sort of terminate me sort of on that Friday evening because I did not retake the mock, and then pretty much threw me out on the street like that. I just didn't think that was something legal that they could do to me as my employer. Um, so after I'd had my leg taken care of, I really started to question the legal validity of what they had done to me. So on the Tuesday, I managed to find some legal advice in Seoul. I managed to track down a law firm in Gangnam that specialized in labor law, and I spoke to them over the phone, and I sent them a few emails, sort of giving them details of what had happened to me, and they took an interest in my situation, and they invited me to come and see them and bring all of my documentation. So I think I came in to into their office on the Wednesday, and I brought all of my stuff, my Chung Dahm contract, all the other documents that Chung Dahm had provided me with, the Chung Dahm folder, everything I had, plus like a written statement of what had happened. So I brought all of that in and told them what had happened, and basically what they told me, that no, it's not really legal what they had done to me, because as my employer, they're actually required to follow some sort of protocol for dismissal, and this protocol was actually detailed in the contract. So there is quite a detailed process of how you terminate a teacher, and first it had to be a verbal warning, and then a written warning, and then a final warning, and then you're dismissed, or something like that. The finer details of that were in the Chung Dahm contract. Of course, the training center in Seoul did not follow any of these protocols, and basically just terminated me on that Friday night after I refused to take the remock that evening, and threw me out on the street practically. So that was the one issue, that they hadn't really followed any sort of protocol to terminate me. They just terminated me. And the other issue was that the training center in Seoul wasn't really my employer, because they are connected with the with the school in Daejeon, but from a legal point of view, they're actually separate entities. So, um, the training center in Seoul, what they had done by terminating me there in Seoul had actually interfered with my employment um, with that school in Daejeon. So they'd actually interfered in something that should have been between me and my employer, and they, from a legal perspective, they had sort of interfered in that. So this is what the law firm was telling me. How this is to be seen from a legal point of view, and that no, it's probably not legal what they've done to you. And so the Korean attorney there, he took an interest in my case, and he offered me representation for a case against them for unfair dismissal. So um, he said basically that he could represent me in court in the Labor Commission in Daejeon, and hopefully I can either have the possibility of reinstatement or some sort of cash compensation. So I was required to pay a flat fee for his services, and then he agreed to represent me in court. So I think that was the Wednesday of the week after I failed training, and so I had decided that I was going to sue Chung Dahm for what they had done to me and how they had treated me sort of during that training week, and particularly, up at the end when they told me that no, you can't work for us, and threw me out, and sort of threw me out on the street.